And you
I'm
can't.
not touching their stuff.
I have no idea.
You don't know?
No.
Okay, then we're off and running with our experts.
During
I've
the
been having a wood
C word
shortage.
process, well, that can happen as you get older in life. Come on, man. This is a joke.
You put cologne on your butt?
Well,
So in order to play, you have to wear jorts.
I don't have George. I could probably wear a Speedo now.
Want to do that? No, you probably could.
He'll be over here tomorrow digging out a big-ass bush.
Sonny and share, like and share, whatever.
Yeah.
Just something and share.
Yes, hello. It's another edition of the Gamble & Finn Larger Than Live. I'm done with the numbers because I can't keep track of them, and I screw them up. But let's just say this is bracket busting, balls, all sorts of themes. I'm Gamble, he's Finn, and we've got lots to get to in a very brief period of time.
Now, some people are
Yes.
keeping track at home. Season
No,
2,
they're not.
episode 7.
Then you know what I would tell them? Get a life.
This also proves to me how little you look at the graphics that we do. Because
We
it's
have graphics?
It's in every single
Oh,
one.
we have graphics? My bad.
It's one of the biggest.
Oh, is that what you send
it's
over?
one of the biggest fonts.
I do see that. No, I see that. By the way, have you noticed I've been outside a lot? Looking fantastic. I'm all just getting an early tan.
Yeah, you look really good there.
Awesome. And at least you can't see my underwear yet. I got to make sure.
Yeah.
On a previous episode, hey, we do archive these. If you want to look back, you can see my undies. And
Yeah.
that's exciting.
There's
for
a
you.
reason to smash
Yep.
the subscribe button on our
Absolutely.
YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah, it's well, it's no. I think those episodes should have been called balls. But
I think
honestly, we one of the things when we get into the extras, the little extras
Yep.
that we do now on the YouTube channel, one of them has to do with you out in your yard. We'll get to
Okay.
that in a little bit later. But first things first, season 2, episode 7, and again here in Studio G, again
Right,
the
I forgot
fabulous
about that,
indoor
yeah.
Studio G. Thanks to our friends at Fueled Collective for partnering up with us again. Office space for people who don't need a lot of office space but still want all that functionality. Those guys get it done. I know they had a pretty good event surrounding St. Patty's
Correct.
Day, and
Yep.
we talked a little bit about this last time about getting back to normal and what is normal, and even though we didn't have a parade and whatnot,
Well,
but
we're
you're
not
starting to
normal.
see you're starting to see things now with the first weekend of the
Yep.
NCAA basketball tournament, just a little bit of normalcy, but
Correct.
the thing that's not normal is the results.
Right. Well, and one other thing about Fuel Collective, if you're someone like myself or you own your own company and you office at home, but you need a place to meet where you kind of want to meet in the middle, that's why Fuel Collective is awesome, because you can use that as your meeting space and they have a bar. Okay.
Yes, there is a
now
bar.
back to the NCAA tournament. So it has been, and I wonder why. I wonder why this year, and I know every year you can say there are upsets.
Right.
But this year, for the fact that today is the final day of the second round, because it's normally Thursday through Sunday, now it's Friday through Monday, so lots of games going on this evening, tonight, now. But we're lying because this is really afternoon, but this day there will be 8 more games. But can you believe the teams that have fallen?
You know what's crazy? And we saw, oh my God, Oral Roberts beat Ohio State, but then went on to win again last night.
Right.
Against, a 7th seed.
Trailed by 13 and came back to win.
I like it better this way.
Yeah.
There's something about this that's been more fun to watch because I'm watching teams I didn't even know existed or didn't give a rat's ass about, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, they have a chance to win this game. And the games have, except for the Gonzaga game, have pretty much been pretty tight.
Well, the team, Loyola, if everybody remembers a few years back when Loyola of Chicago made its run to the Final Four, they've still got a couple dudes, same coach, and I mean, they didn't just get past Illinois. They beat Illinois, a 1 seed from start to finish. I will still go. I said I thought Gonzaga would win. Gonzaga and Baylor, to me, are still the two. Now, but most people, I guarantee you, a lot of you out there with brackets had Illinois Final Four, if not many, winning it, and they just looked horrendous. Boy, the Big Ten has been brutal. I mean, really brutal. And how about the Atlantic Coast Conference, brutal? And everybody, we have a little debate, verbal sparring in this household.
In this house, yes.
Because my middle son, Michael, he of course plays the opposite of everything I do. So I told him all year the Pac-12 is better than people give it credit for. A lot of it's West Coast. You don't see it. Bill Walton smokes dope and then calls games. So he's a blowhard extraordinary. Have you heard him?
It's a pretty good gig.
Have you heard him though?
No.
Dude, oh my God, dude. He has to. I mean, he's done it for his entire life.
Yeah.
He sounds like they brought a guy just completely buzzed in to call the games, and he just licks the ass of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, they've been bad in the past. Going into today, they're undefeated. All these teams now. Oregon, granted, got the 1-0 or 2-0 the forfeit win, but
Yeah, thanks for that, by the way, whoever it was that had a forfeit. I'm sure if you're sitting in Louisville, you're like,
VCU.
that's cool.
It was the timing of the forfeit, Fred. But anyway, and how about yesterday? UC fans bitter, right? See, Huggins can't get past the second round, and they were awful, and he looks awful.
He looks
Whole other
bad.
story. And they're just seething at Mick in that play-in game, trailing, coming back, then winning again. Now he moved, So they played at A2, and they'll have a tough task today. But nonetheless.
They did play today, actually.
Oh, they
Remember?
did. My bad. Right. We're not lying to people. They're playing this afternoon. It's all good.
It's so funny because I did look back at the game times, and I'm like, how are we going to talk about these as if they've already happened? We're not.
We're not. No, we're not. That's why I had to backtrack on the ones I forgot. Oregon plays at 12:10.
You're going to open up a hole in the space-time continuum.
But I do think
it'll be 1922, which we'll get to in a moment.
I think you're right, though. I think the reason that people, besides the gaming aspect and the office pools and all that, and the back and forth, I think the one thing that I can tell you is people clamor. We like to root in life for the underdog, right? And that's what this whole, especially these 4 days, that's what this is all about.
Well, too, I think I saw a statistic, and correct me if I'm wrong, someone with every seed number except for 16 has won a game.
That's correct.
Is that true? Did I read that right?
You
okay.
did read that correct.
Has that ever happened?
Probably not.
I can't imagine.
And the 116 is always just that 1 year of Virginia.
Yeah.
But other than that, they've been dominant like they should be. But I think that, think about this. I can tell you the following. On Friday, around lunchtime, stopped into Dickman's Kentucky Sports Cafe for a carryout. This was at 11:40. Game started just after noon. No local interest. No teams of any local interest. Kentucky, Cincinnati, whatever. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
That place was socially distanced or personally distanced, was crawling. You had to sit, all that. But the point, I think people, to your point earlier, they want that normalcy, and this is bringing back, because last year we didn't have any of this.
No, but I tell you what, the squeaking is making me crazy. They need to do something to get the microphone off the court, because that squeaking, I can't get it out of my head now with the.
See, it's funny you say that. I don't even know.
Oh, you'll hear it now. You're welcome. Anyway,
Thanks,
so let me ask you. Well, let me
Yes.
ask you this. Let's move beyond the games,
right. Yep.
and let's talk about some of the nonsense that is the COVID with
All right.
regard to this, because, as you said, VCU forfeits late enough in that Louisville isn't able to come in and play.
Stop the Louisville bitterness. Win more games during the season.
Again, I don't disagree, but it's you have to kind of do all the timing in your head, like, well, how did and when did and who? It shows the arbitrary nature of this. And then you look at the bench. Everybody's sitting with their own rack of drinks, and there's a coach here and someone here, and they're in there sweating, bumping into each other, high-fiving, hugging, tongue kissing, dunking, laying down, peeing on each other, and then they run off the court and they pretend that distance is going to make any difference whatsoever.
That's
ridiculous.
Not to mention when they win and they celebrate. And Lori, we were watching, and she's right. The coaches, and I don't blame them, when they want the players on the court to hear them, pull the mask down. So that you're defeating so why even wear the mask?
Right. Well, okay. And to that, I know this is one of your favorite points.
Okay. Oh boy.
The sideline reporter who hasn't have anyone near her for 20 or 30 feet talking into the microphone through the mask.
I don't get
the dumbest thing ever. I think it's such just dog and pony.
It's
nonsense.
Optics. Everything's about the optics and nothing else. But here's the other. Think about this. So VCU believes via contact tracing that they may have picked it up in Dayton.
They were trying to blame Dayton.
Hotel. Well, that's because that's where they played in the conference tournament championship game for the Atlantic 10. But you're telling me this. Tell me this. You're going to tell me that through the rest of this entire tournament, because it's not a bubble, it's a pseudo bubble.
Right.
You're going to tell me that no other players on any of these teams moving forward, none, are going to have COVID.
They're the only ones that are being honest about it. That would be
maybe.
But as soon as they tried to blame Dayton, I'm like, don't you blame Dayton?
But think about this. Let's surmise. Gonzaga. Are they really going to heave? So Gonzaga undefeated.
No.
They're 27-0. Have a chance to do what Indiana last did in 1976. Are they really going to go, Gonzaga, you're out? I can guarantee you at the high school level, since the postseason began, you know what's going on. You know what's going on. Shh. That's happening. You know that's happening.
Well-
but I don't care. I love the tournament. Best time of year, right, is right now. I can't wait. I'm busier than hell. Of course, the busiest week of my life for a year is this week, but that's okay because it's basketball and baseball. Related.
Well, I got two other questions to ask you about this, and one could be an extra. I don't know, but two things that just blowing me away, and you can see it. We've talked about this. Is one of the reasons I've quit caring about professional sports as much, and it's starting to leak into. Well, it's in college, and it's actually leaking into high school. But it's this personal brand, personal look thing, and whatever it is. The announcers, they cannot stop talking about mustaches. These guys with their porn stashes.
And they look
ridiculous.
Horrendous.
Yeah, what was that
awful.
kid's name? Sputnik or whatever his name is on Loyola, Chicago.
The big dude.
That big guy that looks like Farva from Super Troopers.
And it's amazing how unathletic he looks and how damn good.
Oh, my God. He looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy with a porn stash.
Right.
But he played a hell of a game.
He did.
But God, these kids with their mustaches, that seems to be the only thing the announcers want to talk about. But it is creating that look. It's like, you remember me. I was the guy that had the thing. You know, and it's so funny because a lot of there's like 3 hairstyles among the black players that seem to be prevalent now. And that's the big sideshow bob thing sticking up off the top of the head. There's just the in tight to the head. But the white guys, it's so crazy. They've gone with the mustache as the way to build their little individual brand.
You are correct.
It's crazy. I know it seems like an odd thing to notice, but that seemed like that's all anybody was talking about. So let me ask you this too.
Yes.
Some of the best. I mean, I love Kevin Harlan. I love listening to him.
He's outstanding.
Announce anything. He could, honest to God, he could read me the phone book, and I would be just fine with it.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
What do you? And
yes.
This is going to sound different than it's supposed to.
Okay. Well, really.
It's probably not fair.
Okay. Somebody's going to get ripped.
Maybe I shouldn't.
Just
what do you think of the female announcers?
Well, I think I can answer that, I think. I think actually, and she was the analyst. She was not the play-by-play, the one that I heard. I thought she made good points. I think what it is it's like a female public address announcer. So like the San Francisco Giants have a female PA announcer.
Right.
I think part of the issue is they're so rare you don't like it. I don't think it has to do with you're so accustomed to hearing a male voice. I'm not here to tell you that because she made good points. I mean, she really – Doris Burke with the NBA.
I think Doris Burke is
she's
very
outstanding. Outstanding. I just think because we never hear it, is it necessary? Probably not.
But here's the difference, and this is why I brought it up, and I'm sure it sounded like I'm like, get rid of the women out of the booth. They don't belong there. They absolutely belong there. I feel kind of bad for them because it's taken so long for them to get there. Doris Roberts really did kind of blaze the trail and has honed her craft and gotten
Doris
Burke, Doris Roberts. She was the mom on.
But
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Robin
she
Roberts
in the
back
booth.
in the day of ESPN.
Robin
She did. So look, you combined the two of them.
But I think the thing is, it's taken so long. You're right. It's foreign to the ear. I feel like they're overcompensating sometimes, trying too many cliches.
I would
it's
agree
kind of
with
the
that.
boom goes the dynamite thing.
I would agree with that.
In some cases. So, and I don't think it's been fair that it's taken so long to get to this point. But it just really throws me every time I hear it.
Yeah, well,
it
because
really
again,
does.
because you hear it so seldom. Now, I'll tell you something I love. I'm gonna use a college basketball to the NFL. Can't stand it at the NFL. Love it at college basketball. The NFL studio analysts and people are brutal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're brutal. They say nothing. They're just, but man, these dudes, I love some of these Seth Davis, Wally Zerbiak, Clark Kellogg. But then when you get Barkley and Kenny Smith, they don't care.
No.
And maybe Barkley doesn't know. I mean, but I'm telling you, and the Capital One ads,
those have been very good.
Oh,
they're getting better.
They're getting.
Have you seen the one with the little kids?
Yes.
Remember the first time we got together, and then the little kid comes in and he goes, "Hello, friends."
Yes.
Those little Jim Nance.
Well, and Jim Nance. I mean, but to me, they're actually and Ernie Johnson's an outstanding studio host. But I just think they have fun, and those NFL, it's like. It's so different.
Yeah. Well, these guys, I think you see it in the NFL desk. They bust each other's nads a little bit, but it's like kind of forced.
Oh, that's what I mean.
These guys really go after each other.
They had a segment yesterday where they had these mascots dancing that were superimposed, and they had Seth Davis, Clark Kellogg, and Wally Zerbiak attempting to dance. They were laughing so hard at the end of that when they got back to their chair, they couldn't even continue because it was so brutal.
The fact that the Wally Zerbiak robot can dance at all is amazing to me. He is very robotic.
He is, but I tell you what, his points are pretty good. He does it. His analysis, I should say, is pretty good.
Analysis. And here's what and this is the one thing. He went to Miami.
He did. He was a hell of a player. Played in the NBA
fellow
for years.
alums. You know, he and Ronnie Harper and Big Ben. But it was so funny because every time they'd go to Wally, he'd go, well, you know, that is this and this and that. And that's what made me the player I was, as good as I was. I wouldn't have been as good as I was. I wouldn't have been the player I was had it not been for my dad. I wouldn't have been the best player in this. And I'm like, wow, he really thinks he was a lot better than he really was.
Speaking of Ron Harper, his son, they should have won Rutgers, but his son played. Ron Harper Jr.
How about that?
Played yesterday.
Well,
but it's fun.
It's been a lot of fun to watch.
It has been.
And by the time that everybody sees this, there may or may not be a couple other.
Oh, there will be. The way it's going so far, you know what it's time for? Reset. It's Gamble and Finn's Larger Than Live. I'm Gamble. He is Finn. We do this a little bit shorter version because we have some extras where we address topics that deserve their own little segment. We'll be doing that. We appreciate you following along, enjoying these, hopefully, telling others about it as well. So we've got this. Why wouldn't you want to tell people?
And I was going to say, too, the other thing we always ask down in the comments, if there's anything you are curious what we think about it, if it's the same or completely different into what you think or you disagree or whatever, fire when ready. I mean, we don't care. Bring it. Whatever you've got, bring it on.
And we should mention that you and I are educating the youth this week.
Oh, God.
So we are Wednesday morning Northern Kentucky University, where I am an adjunct professor.
Why would you implicate them?
Well, but I think, no, they need to hear reality, man.
Oh, I know,
so
but why would you blame the university?
Well, they asked us. It's called Business Week. It's designed where business professionals address students and to talk about varying topics that they will be facing as they get ready to graduate, get out in the world, etc. It's all virtual, so we're going to do it from Studio G on a Wednesday morning, but we're looking forward to that, I know, because I think you and I, a lot of what frustrates us about the younger generation, and we're not the get off the grass. We're trying to just hopefully provide some insight and give them some of the tools that I don't care how old you are. And believe me, there are plenty of people our age who do not do well at this either. So it's just advice that hopefully we can pass on from our years of experiences and the developing of the love for people that we have today.
Well, and again, there is a certain irony to about what they've asked us to talk about, but I think the reality check concept comes into play. Like you said, it's and these things that we're going to be discussing aren't limited to any particular age group. It's just the business of doing business.
Yep.
And what will get you noticed for the right reasons and what will get you noticed for the wrong reasons. Yeah. Although there is something that, and I don't know if they'll let us replay that pieces or parts of this. There's something that I brought up with you that I want to talk about that we'll save for that. And then I started thinking about it again, and I'm like, boy, there's subtext that proves what I'm saying, but not in a good way. And so,
but that's okay.
We'll get to something. It may be a reality check for us too if they're allowed to fire back, because we may be sitting there going, I don't know.
Yeah, but I hope it's fun. But anyway, this is I gotta be shameless here for a minute.
Okay.
I got a lot going on this week. I'm wearing the brand. So this is the St. Elizabeth Healthcare 9th Region Tournament in Northern Kentucky. Starts today, and goes through next Monday. And it should be a very enjoyable event. I love it. And the fact that they're actually having some fans. They're following the new phrase, Fred, is pandemic protocol.
Yes.
That's become the new. So we're doing that, but a great game going on tonight, Covenant Catholic against St. Henry. It's one of those first-round games that most people thought would be the championship game, maybe, but it was the blind draw. And then tomorrow, on Tuesday, it is the first pitch event for the Skyline Chili Reds High School Showcase down at the Reds Youth Academy, where it all ended, sadly, a year ago. You were there.
That's right.
And so I can't wait till tomorrow and I got to tell you, you talk about people chomping at the bit because getting ready for the spring sports season that was lost last year.
Yeah.
So it's really, I'm excited about that. Lance McAllister, who hosts Sports Talk before us on Thursday nights on 700 WLW. He's kind of going to be the featured, not speaker, but he and Brian Giesensaw are going to talk back and forth, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, you mentioned WLW. We'll be back
this
Thursday night, 9 to midnight for the reality check. And as busy as you are, I mean, you got a kind of a sense of what Fred's up to here. Same here. If you want to catch up with me between now and Thursday night, I'll be at home on my couch watching Bosch on Amazon Prime. I'm on season 2, episode 3.
Yeah, but no, wait a minute. But you've been heavily involved with the American Cornhole Organization, and they had another big event over the weekend.
Yeah,
you were there, right? So I mean,
I went down to Knoxville and I sat at a front table and made sure everybody checked their name off the list when they came in. Drank a bunch of beers. Had a smoked, not Manhattan. What's the other one? What's the old fashioned? A smoked old fashioned.
Here, I have
pitched
a
some
question.
cornhole and then drove home.
Did you use a highlighter?
Yes.
Did you use a highlighter to make sure you could properly different colors for different because that's where at age 57 in all my years I've learned the highlighter works best.
Yeah, well, here's the best part.
Yes.
And apparently the only building in Tennessee that required the mask to the level it did was the one we were in. So signing in the number of people that could be in this 300,000 square foot building, everything. Right. And then we had our roll call sheet. So you came in and you marked it off with a highlighter.
There you go.
Yellow if you were a player. Pink if you were a spectator.
See, separate.
Limited number of spectators.
Okay.
And if for whatever reason you weren't on the list, this was the best part.
Okay.
Write your name down at the bottom with a pen and then highlight it. I can't read any of those names. They're all smeared.
Oh, whoops.
We wrote them in with the ink and then we just had a whole bunch of blue lines that came in.
And the one thing that I wondered back to, you and I have talked about this, but the other piece is, like when I went to football games, they had you fill out the form, right, for contact. Whatever, were they really going to use that? How are they going to go through this stack of whatever money and go, oh, here's Fred, and come on, man.
Hey,
come on.
Just remember
Come
this.
on.
Woof, woof. Woof, woof.
Watch out, Fidge might come out from under that desk.
Oh, that's true. I forgot.
Fidge is in the room. Be careful. She might think there's a dog in the room.
Another dog will come from there, and the pony will come from over there.
So did you have a good time, though?
It was a lot of fun. It was a huge, we did have 450 plus players for a major. This wasn't even the World Championship. Sometimes has 450 players because last year, in Columbia, South Carolina, had fewer than that because of COVID restrictions. So we continue to build, we continue to do it safely, continue to do it correctly, and we're going to be incorporating American Cornhole Organization boards and some other gaming and things like that when we head to opening day at the Moorline Lager House, which is sooner rather than later, Fred.
Yeah, looking forward to that. We're about 10 or so days away from our big opening day down there. Reds Cardinals 410. We'll be down there starting at noon. Moorline Lager House opens at 11. So we're going to have a lot of guests stopping by, but it's not going to be nonstop talking. We'll play some music, have some fun, some interactive games, some trivia for prizes. We'll test you out on some Reds trivia and some opening. Maybe it will just be Reds opening day trivia.
And maybe a little beer trivia since we're there.
We got to have beer trivia.
At a beer baron, at a home of a beer baron with Greg Hardman. We should probably do a little beer trivia down there. But it will be a lot of fun. A lot of our usual suspects and friends of the show will be there to share perspective. And it'll be interesting because it'll be print, it'll be TV, and then we're working on all kinds of different guests. We'll probably tell you either in an extra or maybe next Monday who to expect specifically. But really looking forward to, hopefully we're having weather like we had today and we can be outside. There is a weather contingency. For some reason, if there's rain, we'll be moving inside, but it'll be a lot of fun. And I think so. But here's my question: we've talked about the event. We've talked about the fact that everybody's returning. There's no parade, but everybody seems jazzed up. You made the comment that you'll see people here. And then you won't see them again the rest of the season.
Opening day, because it's an event that's not a baseball game, if you will.
So that is always kind of the case, that you have people that'll show for opening day because of the party and the vibe and the whole thing. Do you think this year that everybody's so geared up for opening day that it's going to be a match? Do you think people beyond the opening day hype and this signal that maybe we're getting back to some kind of normal in our general lives? Do you think people care as much about baseball? Do you think this 162 game season is going to wear people out now after last year's sprint?
I think it depends, and I think I can answer that easily. And I don't think this is that different than any other year, but maybe more so. It's how the Reds do. I think this is one where people are longing. If you're right, because you and I talked about this during the past 12 plus months. You had to find something else to do because a lot of what you love wasn't there. The 60-game season shortened. I still think it comes down to if they get off to a good start, I think people will be nuts. If they don't,
well, and again, last year we talked about it being a sprint, and there was all that talk about, well, if we had gone the full 162, well, now we are. We're back.
Yeah,
it's what the players wanted. Is it what the fans really wanted?
That's a good question, and you've already got a lot of the Bengals have been active in free agency, which is not necessarily always the case. you've got a lot of grumbling. Man, what's going on with UC basketball? I mean, they may not have enough to play 5-on-5 now. They may have to go like they may have to call Gus Macker for a little 3-on-3.
I did,
but you've got. I mean,
I did say somebody say that they should get a sponsorship from Five Guys.
Well,
that's all they got left.
But think about this though,
It's not
Fred.
fair.
Think about though UK, the grumblings about now all of a sudden UK can't win and they can't even make the tournament.
Well.
Xavier hasn't made it in 3 years, right? They wouldn't have made it last year unless UC. I mean, so you bring up an interesting people in Cincinnati. Let's be honest here for a minute. It's Loserville, man.
Well,
in sports, it really and
I'm
truly
gonna tell you,
is.
you know who has the biggest potential upside, and they're going to need it?
FC Cincinnati?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, they do. You're probably right. I mean, it's, the delayed start of that season, the new stadia, which they've got the opportunity to just hit it. If they're good on the pitch.
Right, yes. Outside and inside on the pitch. Look at you. And not a lot of 0-0 games.
Correct. Oh, boy, that can cure insomnia. But if they get all, so what if they're successful? Then suddenly, this is a market that's waiting to be had. It is.
Yes.
People love a winner.
Waiting for a winner, and is typically fair weather fandom throughout. And I say that having lived here almost 30 years. I've never seen a city as fair weather as this.
You really think that?
Yes, I do.
Well, we'll have to discuss that because I'm going to disagree with you there.
Well, I've always said if you want job security, there are 3 jobs you can have. Remember what they were?
I remember you saying this. You're testing me now. I would fail miserably.
Funeral director.
Oh, yeah, right.
For job security.
Hang on.
Toilet paper manufacturer.
Right.
And the person in charge of the tire pressure on the Bengals bandwagon.
See, but
because you will always have a job.
All right, we're not going to get into this now.
Okay.
But I don't think there's any such thing as a fair weather fan. And I'll explain that presumably in a future extra when you can tune in and see if you agree with me.
Well, I think we're running tight on time here on this episode. We've dropped the deuce, which are the 2 main topics, those being balls, whether they be basketballs or baseballs. You know what? Good luck. I think after day 1 or day 2, there was not one bracket left.
And
alive.
usually there's usually a couple that make it through a few rounds anyway, right?
Well, I think that's kind of cool.
Oh, I do too.
I think it's really cool.
I love it. I'm sticking to Gonzaga. I still think I know they're a 1 seed, but I do think at least one from a number 5 seed or lower, meaning 5 to, I think makes the Final Four. At least one. I think it's that kind of time.
I'm going to go Baylor. Okay. I'm going to stick with Baylor because of their speed.
Now, are you rooting of the dogs so far? Is there one in particular that you're rooting for?
Well, the Loyola of Chicago.
Yeah, they're hard
only
not
because
to.
of the old nun.
Oh,
They
Sister Jean.
Sister Jean, yeah, they kept showing her. I thought that was great.
How about that? 101 at the games.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And how irritated are the Illinois fans getting beat by Loyola. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
And then there's just something about Buddy Boeheim. Just the name Buddy Boeheim. I know you don't like Jim Boeheim.
I'm not a Jim Boeheim.
But Buddy Boeheim, I mean, he's hitting them from the parking lot.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
there's
ridiculous.
just something about hearing him go, Buddy Boeheim for 3 from downtown.
Well, and I was rooting yesterday for West Virginia because the local connection. Sean McNeil.
Oh, that's right.
He went to Cooper. He went with my sons to Cooper High School, and then Miles McBride from Moeller. So they had 2 locals.
He was number 4?
4, yeah. He's very talented, only a sophomore. By the way, Huggins, how brutal. Oh, man. How brutal.
Well, we did come up with a new idea. I mean, they're not building sweatsuits large enough anymore, so I want to come up with, and Bob, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, we want to come up with your own brand, your own fashion line, and they're going to be called Huggies, and we're going to talk to the diaper company because that will be built in, but they're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're just going to call them adult Hugs.
The best is when they bring out the stool, like when they call the timeout and they bring some poor schleprock has to carry like a massive stool because he can't get down, right? He has to sit up on that.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
There's 2 things about Hugs, and he's the modern day Bobby Knight. He's that guy. He's just gruff around the edges. He's just who he is. He's the guy that you always thought was going to die on the court in the middle of a game because I think that's what he wants. Yeah. And he's not going to do anything to improve his health. He doesn't care.
No,
he
doesn't.
He's had 44 heart attacks.
He's living the way he's, and
he wants to live.
He's
right.
won 900 games.
Yeah, and you know what? And there's not a thing wrong with that. He is living the way that he wants to live. But yesterday, when they were showing him up and down the sidelines, I kept thinking, man, Santa looks like he really wants to go out and chop down a tree.
By the way, did you hear he played? When he played, in the second game that Jim
Boeheim
Boeheim coached.
Yeah,
And he played at Akron, so obviously it was an early season
I
game.
heard that.
And he was Bobby Huggins then.
Well, I'll
was
tell
the
you,
little guard,
there
yes.
have been some great familial stories.
Yeah,
now
there
that
really
come
have
in.
been.
Guys' sons who've played for him, and they went here and knew all that,
Yeah.
and this guy played with that guy. And I like that they do all that digging and they find out all those stories. And I think some of the pictures that they found have been fantastic. It's been a fun tournament
It
to
has
watch,
been.
in spite of the fact that it's so weird. And so
Yeah.
let's hope that it continues to do that. And
Plenty more to go.
yep, and the
Enjoy.
good news is you'll have a couple more opportunities to hear Bill Raftery yell out "onions" for no reason
But I
whatsoever.
love that.
I hate it.
I love Bill
I
Raftery.
hate that guy.
I love it. But you know what it means, right?
Yeah.
It's a theme of our show.
What, onions?
Yeah. He means balls.
Oh, is that what he
That's
call,
it.
is
Yeah,
that what he's
that's-
talking about?
So, like, yes, when somebody hits a clutch shot, that's
you know what? I love
See, you
Bill.
love it.
I
now,
love Bill
see?
Raftery.
You just need a little explanation.
We need
All
to
right,
yes,
don't
we need to
forget.
get him on our podcast.
See, look at you go. Boy, you took that lead. That was
I hear it
awesome.
from the truck. I hear what
Right,
they're
yeah,
telling
you
me.
did. Yeah. Let me tell you, if we had a truck, it wouldn't start. I can guarantee you that.
It'd be up on
Nothing
blocks.
on it would work. And you know what? We need to do that. And we need to put it in the yard. Right? In the yard, on blocks. That's our production truck.
Oh, there you go. Well, all right. So all of this is converted into a podcast. You can find it on the iTunes store and I don't know where else. But
The favorite places you get your podcast.
Where you get your
Don't you
podcasts.
memorize that from Thursday nights?
almost all of the places
Come
you
on.
can get podcasts. Also, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. It's right around here on the YouTube channel. This is where we post the extra editions, which we're going to be firing out here in just a little while. So thank you guys for checking it out.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Feel free to fire away in the comments, fire off at one another. It seems to be a nice little community of you who are here week in and week out.
Where were you when they captured the Golden State Strangler?
Probably sitting in the studio at LW
Listening to a
listening to a podcast commercial about it, going,
That's-
who the hell's that?
Well, I'd never heard of
God.
it, but apparently somebody captured him.
Oh my God.
If it was a he. We're on Thursday night, 9 to midnight. We're back, we think anyway, unless they tell us between now and then.
Who knows?
On 700
Or they tell
WLW.
Lance.
Right.
And then
Or-
he can tell
He
us.
can tell us, like when we're on extra or not on. Yes.
All right, it's all good stuff. Thanks for checking it out. We're going to wrap up this edition of Larger Than Live. It is season 2, episode 7. He's Gamble. I'm Finn.
And we are out.